And pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Maritime Matters. Whether you're listening via radio wave on 97.5 FM, via an internet radio app, via cable Bahamas channel 951, or PTC Flow channel 606, we appreciate you and we humbly welcome you to our show. We now encourage you to check out our YouTube page, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Here you can listen to all of our previous shows at your own leisure. So feel free to hit us up on YouTube, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Again, pleasant good evening. I am Captain Glenn Payne. Tonight, we have quite a dynamic guest for you. One that has shattered the glass ceiling for achievement by Bahamian women in the Anglican Diocese. Quite an accomplished author with a warm and humble heart. Yes, it's a lady that is indeed a household Bahamian name for all ages. An ultimate achiever, a sister that, through perseverance and firm commitment, became the very first Bahamian woman to serve as an Anglican priest. She currently sits as the chair of the National Maritime Policy Implementation Committee. This represents the body that is staging a most important maritime exhibition next month. Following those discussions, we will engage the hot topic, illegal migration. Firstly, we're going to highlight the current flow of migrants by sea crossing the Mediterranean Sea from Northern Africa to Europe. We should juxtapose that against our very own litany of migrants coming in by sea from regional countries to the Bahamas. Lots of similarities. Loads of reasons why this debacle must be handled with kid gloves. So please, be sure to stay tuned. Our sponsors for tonight's show, you know the usual, One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen, you want good treatment and you want medication? Check out my good little cousin, Shantia McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. They have two locations, East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway. When you walk in the door, you'll be treated with utmost royalty. You don't have to be a blue blood royalty to be treated with royalty in there. They take care of you. Say hello to my good cousin, Steph. Steph turned 62 the other day. Boy, Steph had a big time party. Steph, girl, happy birthday again. I'm telling you live on radio. That's my cousin. We go up together and roll out. All my good old roll out new friends I saw at that little gathering. Boy, look, we had a ball. I ain't calling no name. We are also sponsored by BMC, Bahamas Maritime Connection. Yeah, that's us. We provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. You know the deal. Plans, assessments, audits, training. You need it. Consultancy, that's us. Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. To the listening audience out there, it will be remiss of me to go any further and not introduce our wonderful producer for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour and the man with the power, the man who always got my back. He's fully able, quite capable, the one and only Craig Gibson. And he salutes to the crowd. I tell you, that's a military man. He ain't been in the defense force, but he's a military man. You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters is weekly at 19:30 or 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The primary purpose is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. And that delves right into what we're dealing with tonight, the big exhibition for next month. So halfway through the show, we will open the phone lines. The number to call will be 326-8255. Again, the number you can reach us at, 326-8255. Feel free to call us at any point during the show. We go over the lines in a little while. We get talk first because I know how you all go. You all like interrupt. Anyway, Port, let's highlight our outstanding maritime heroes from the past, and they're all from the past. I see Brent looking at me like he must be supposed to be on this list, but he ain't reached it yet. So we're going to highlight, starting with the port controller extraordinaire, Mr. Leon Flowers. Everybody know that's the man that bought the port from way back where it was to where it is. All those cruise ships when they were just little dinghies, now they big, huge things. And he paved the way. He started to make things happen at Prince George Wharf and on the Family Islands, dealing with all those docks where all the mailboats had to go. Hey, come, Mr. Leon Flowers was the man, eh? We got the sail sloop Pioneer, another man from Exuma. Why these Exuma fellas so strong? The great, the legendary Captain Raleigh Gray. Household name when it comes to sailing. And it was a couple other household names, but they ain't not like Raleigh Gray. I don't care what they tell me, that's what they tell me. Olympic sailing champs, Sir David Knowles and Cecil Cook. They brought the first gold to the Bahamas. Mind you, we was British then. But they brought the first gold to the Bahamas. We didn't see gold again since my last week's guest, Pauline Davis and her crew, until they came and got another gold for the Bahamas during any Olympic event. But of course, that time it was on the track. Again, as we approach May 10th, our most important maritime heroes has to be in the spirit of HMBS Flamingo's champion skipper, senior commander Amos Roll, and of course, the other 18 crew members of the HMBS Flamingo on that fatal final voyage. And we're going to discuss that later on in the show. Not really the incident, everybody knows that incident, but we have to pay homage. Hey, May 10 coming around again, those guys need some money. I want the government to listen. We got to pay. I don't know if we call it reparations. I don't know if we call it compensation, but those guys went through a lot. Some of them still living. A couple of them died. Some died on impact. And you know what? We need some money to be paid out. That's how we could be rolling with that. Now, our domestic maritime matters. Boy, look here, time trying to run away with us, but we ain't worrying about that. We had a recent jet ski accidental death in the news of late. It was a foreigner, a tourist visiting, and, it happened during twilight. And what is twilight? Twilight is that time when things could happen, because it was after 6 p.m., according to the news that I heard. And after 6 p.m., not many people still be beaching. Not many tourists still be in the water. So I am not trying to find any excuses as to why this thing happened, because first and foremost, the law provides that no vessel, whether it be jet ski, whether it be a vessel, whether it be a skiff, no matter what it is, anything operating within 200 feet, well, first of all, it shouldn't operate within 200 feet of the shoreline. And if you come within that 200 feet of the shoreline, you should only be operating in a straight line to get to reception area at the beach, the port side, the land. So you shouldn't be moving along the coast within 200 feet at no speed. And they say even when you maneuvering to reception area, this is what the Motorboat Control Act dictates. This is law from the 1960s. You should not be doing more than 3 knots. So for that jet ski to hit a swimmer, and I assume the swimmer had to have been within 200 feet. 200 feet is long. That's like the length of my, the sideway length of my property plus the neighbor. So it's from road to road. That's 200 feet. So we got to understand that in any case, I understand they still ain't find who's responsible for it. But in any case, that person is dead wrong. They've broken the law. But we also got to look at the fact that this law got to be enforced. There comes the Port Department and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Patrol Unit. Do they ever lock anybody up? Anybody ever been charged with speeding within 200 feet of the shoreline? I know I had some people charged. Brent not here. He had some people charged, but I don't know if I believe Brent. But anyway, we need to get some people charged in the court so that they can start paying attention to these speed limits in this country, man. You may be on the sea, but you can't just do what you want to do. We have laws. If they're not enforced, then of course you're going to keep violating them, because that's just the way we Bahamians roll. You enforce it or we get violated. Another maritime matter in the press, we had the yacht show over the weekend. Well, they invite me. I mean, my good friends, they're my good friends. We had 1 or 2 shows already. And I know they must forget me, right? But I be a little busy. Sometimes I don't even know when things going on unless they let me know. But anyway, I'm sure I'll be to the next one. And what came out of that yacht show? The yacht people working in the yacht field here in our country, they want some stake in this yachting. These yachts, these charter yachts come over here and make loads of money. Yeah, they hire some Bahamians. Or let's say they hire a lot of Bahamians. Yes, they buy food at the food store. Yes, they spend some money in the restaurants and taxis. So we glad they come in here to do yacht charters. But our local brokers want to make some money off them brokerage. Apparently, we don't even have a license for brokers for yacht charters. And we want to take it a step further. while these yachts have to be brokered outside of the country and then come in, we want our local brokers to be able to actually solicit inside, get them some jobs in here, but only the local brokers will be able to do that. You have to be a Bahamian. We need an edge. Let's get that edge. And I know that's what they're pushing for, and they know they got me right behind them, because it only makes sense to me. Now, if somebody have a different view, please call in and let me know. Now, the yacht charter fees has gone from 4%. I remember it always being 4%. From way back in the day when I was the deputy port controller, it was 4%. And we had to chase it up because a lot of the brokers, the foreign brokers, because all of them was foreign, they were collecting that 4%, but they wasn't passing it on to the port. And I found that out. But at the end of the day, why should they? If the port department ain't chasing it up. We got to chase up our money. So that 4% is still 4%. But the government decided we could charge you all 10% back. And why did the government decide that? We had a show on this. The government decided that simply because the Bahamian who have a yacht doing charters got to pay 10% on every charter. So all the foreign coming in only pay 4%. Yes, he was paying that before VAT. But now when VAT came in, we got to balance the playing field, or make it even more, more a little better for the Bahamians who doing the same thing. Yeah, our boats mightn't be spanking big time, pretty and expensive like that, but we still doing the same thing. So my thing is, instead of charging them VAT, the government should have gone up from 4% to 14% on the fee. Because I don't think if I have a foreign boat, if I have a boat, a yacht, and I operating in a foreign country, I don't want to pay no local tax in that country. But if they have a fee, yeah, let me pay the fee. But they still can make noise, because if you move it to 14%, I think you should move it to 20%. Really, that's what I think. Because ain't no place in the world like the Bahamas. Our waters is the best in the world. I've been all over the world. Well, I ain't been every single place, but boy, I've been worldwide. And I can tell you, ain't no waters like our waters. So don't come to me and tell me you could pay 22% in Europe, but you can't pay 20% in the Bahamas. Really, we should be charging more than Europe. But I say, let's go to 15% at least. Well, okay, let's stick to the 14%, but don't make no noise. You can't come here making noise like, oh, we can go somewhere else. No, you ain't going to find these kind of waters nowhere else in the world. So I don't quite agree with the people in the Bahamas who saying, 14% is too high. That's foolishness. How much do they charge just for gratuity on one of those charters? They charge 15, 20% on gratuity that the person who's doing the charter got to pay. So why they can't pay the government with 15% or 14% tax? Man, let's get this right. Thank you very much. Okay, we have oil cleanup efforts being in the papers again. What, again, too far? Okay, let me let you all in, because oil cleanup efforts based on the oil spill during, the big hurricane we had up in South Riding Point. That was Dorian. Dorian was the big one. When it sat over South Riding Point for like a day and a half, doing 5+ category. I think it was category 7, but they say that don't exist. But they sat there for a day and a half, turning, making all kind of way, throwing water all over Freeport, throwing water, breaking up houses, and what happened? The tops from some of the oil storage tanks were blown off. So whose fault that is? That's what you call force majeure. In other words, it's an act of God. In other words, there is nothing that facility could have done to avoid that. As a matter of fact, there was nobody there. You got a hurricane like that coming, everybody got to go home. But at the end of the day, we have some locals feeling that, look, the oil was spilled all over the place. It messed up some of our land. We need to get it out. I agree. Yes, we need to address that. But is that something that should be addressed by that facility if they had nothing to do with it? There is no provision, or if you know about any regulations where if you have a land oil spill based on a force majeure situation, then you're responsible. Then you need to let me know. Because I can tell you when ships have spills, those are normally accidents, and they're contingencies, and they have funds that take care of those things, right? So we could sue the ship for things like that, but I can't see or comprehend in a force majeure situation like a hurricane that never happened in my lifetime at this strength and sit on one spot for so long. We trying to get that facility to be solely responsible. Mind you, they say they're responsible, they're trying to help out, but I don't know if we could force them based on no regulations. That's my view, and I stick into it. Now, Canada deploys 2 naval vessels to Haiti. Well, during, was it Chogam? The meetings that we had here recently, I think it's Chogam. Heads of government, Caribbean heads of government. That's Chogam. I know it used to be Chogam when I was on the defense force. CARICOM. Okay, see, you're all smarter than me. CARICOM had their meetings. The president of, the prime minister, I think, of Canada decided that he will send 2 vessels to Haiti to patrol that border. And he didn't go into any details as to what he's going to do or what those vessels are going to do once they find Haitians trying to escape. Are they going to return them? I assume that's what's going to happen. Or are they going to just write it down and say, we see one leaving? Because we need to know. And I'll tell you why. Because you have a situation in Europe right now. And we're supposed to do this afterwards. Let me go back to this. But I'll tell you why later, right? We have a situation in Europe, I'll just touch on it, where most of the vessels that are smuggling migrants, and big money in this thing. When I say smuggling, I mean $1,000 a head, thousands of dollars a head for each person being smuggled. And so they could try. They smuggling, and the EU bought the Libyan Navy a lot of patrol boats because the EU don't want them people coming to Europe. So they bought them a lot of patrol boats. And you know what Amnesty International said? They shouldn't buy them. They said, why are you going to stop these people and take them back to an area where you have all these problems and they try and escape for better way of life? You shouldn't be helping them to keep them people where they are. So are we going to look at our situation like that? You shouldn't keep the Haitians from trying to escape what's going on in Haiti? I don't know how Canada intends to look at it, but I would love to know. Anybody could have any inkling? I've been researching and I find nothing saying definitively what they're going to do if they come across a vessel escaping with migrants. Then, of course, in our local news, we got the Shantytown deal. Enough respects to Mr. Lincoln being, he don't know me, I don't know him, but of course, everybody know who he is now. Brave soldier. That's what I call him. And we have to take some stance, especially with shanty towns. Now, when it comes to those boats on the waters, we address that because we got to look at that in different ways. So we'll talk in more detail about that, similar to what's going on in the Mediterranean Sea. A little bit more, a little further on down the show. But we know those shanty towns, many laws are being broken. As far as the building itself, meeting the building code, Ministry of Works have some responsibilities there. The environmental impact, a lot of them don't have cesspits and proper discharge. They don't have proper connection to electricity. They don't have water running. I mean, it's a lot of things that are going on. Some people say, oh, but look at our houses uptown, what we used to live in. We had no electricity and water running and this and that in our house. Yes, but we didn't have a building code then. So don't bring that to me. Didn't have no building code. We have one now. So if you could build something, if a Bahamian can't build and not be told to break it down because you ain't got the right approvals, then why we got allow foreigners to do it? Anyway, enough respects to Lincoln Bain. Now, in international feeds, there's a lot of them. And I can come back to them later because right now, time rolling. And I got my guest standing by. So we're going to move to our first break. And when we return, I will be my esteemed pleasure to bring on our guests and let's get cracking on what we here to deal with tonight. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You are listening to Maritime Matters. Without further ado, I reserve no hesitation in introducing tonight's very special guest. She hails all the way from the great city of Nassau, I hope. This diva, ladies and gentlemen, in Radioland has shattered the glass ceiling for achievement by Bahamian women in the Anglican Diocese. Quite the accomplished author and a weekly columnist in our local Tribune. Yes, it's a lady that is indeed a household Bahamian name for the ages. In true female fashion, this chick waltzed her way from the bottom of the heap to the top of the mountain. She then wrestled with the Buddha Dane, almost got to chew on the beetle nut. I am most honored and privileged to present to you tonight an ultimate achiever, a sister that, through perseverance and firm commitment, became the very first Bahamian woman to serve as an Anglican priest. She currently sits as the chair of the National Maritime Policy Implementation Committee. With me tonight is the one and only Reverend Angela Bosfield Palacious.
Good evening. And my Vice Chair, Brent Williamson, is here with me as well.
That's right. And Brent, could you say good evening to the audience, sir?
Good evening. Pleasure to be here.
You're no stranger to this room because you had a couple shows. Well, one we had and one you're supposed to come, and I never see you until now. Boy, I'm glad Rev got you to come out tonight. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have these two are the chair and deputy chair of our implementation committee for our maritime, my national maritime policy. That's correct. So they're going to tell us what's planned for an upcoming exhibition next month at the Mall of Marathon, our big time mall, and we're going to get to the nits and grits of the benefits, the effects, what they're going through to put it off, how they want you to come and be a part of it, and we're gonna just do this thing. But let me just try to find it from Lady Palacious, because she's this is the first time guest for her. See, Brendan been here. I don't know everything but Brent. We don't hear everything but Brent had to say. Madam, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Delancey Street, right by St. Francis Cathedral, West Street, Delancey Street, on Hilltop.
On the hilltop.
Delancey Hilltop.
Right next to the church, you had no other option.
You got Bethel, you got St. John the Baptist, you got the Greek Orthodox, you had St. Mary's, you had the Cathedral, and St. Francis, so you had to behave yourself.
So you had all the elements to become the first female priest in the Bahamas.
Well, when you're a child, you can't dream those kind of dreams because they
amazing,
seem impossible.
You didn't even know
I was a primary teacher, and that was the dream.
Beautiful.
Then when I got in the classroom, I realized that I was not a classroom teacher. I was a teacher, but not to be in with little angels, because it was primary all day. I knew God had a different plan, but I had fun with them, 3 years contract. But then after that, I knew that there was something else I was to be doing, but I didn't know what. I even went to the convent in Haiti to test my vocation for 10 days. It's called a live-in. Okay. And I realized that was not the call, so I just said, okay, Lord, I know what I'm not. What is it that you want? And it became clearer and clearer. And so you just trust God. You do what you have to do. You get ready, and when the door opens, you walk through.
Wonderful. Well, let me just congratulate you on air, because I'm sure you get congratulated all the time, especially when it first happened.
God is good.
So just continue to do those great things.
Yes.
And we know that being the chair of this committee, you would also do great things as far as moving maritime in the Bahamas forward. And females in maritime is a big thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I have two daughters that are pretty predominant in maritime.
Awesome.
Yeah, they went off to maritime school. They went sailing deep sea on bulk carriers and cruise ships, and they deep in the paint right now.
Yes.
So we look forward to a lot more females, and we got a lot more females already. But we don't want it to slow down. We don't want it to stop.
We want our boys and girls, and that's a part of what this is all about.
That's right.
This exhibition and the career fair. Because we really believe that our children have so much potential. They are gifted. And what better way to use the gifts than in this world that our God, corner of the world that our God has given us. An amazing country we have.
That's right.
Just amazing.
And I've always learned in my maritime moving abouts that the Bahamas has the advantage of being a native English-speaking town, because in maritime, everybody must speak English.
Yes.
Unless you have a ship with all persons speaking the same language outside of English, everybody must be able to speak English. English is what they call the great equalizer in maritime. So we have that edge where we speak English already.
Amen.
We have that edge where we are, we used to be more disciplined, but we're still a disciplined people. We're still an intelligent group. We can rival any other nation when it comes to providing seafarers for the international fleet. We just need to get our act together. And I know with your committee and I've had Lady Brenda Clare here already, she's on the roll to get LJM, get those students, more students, and find a way to feed them into the international fleet. So that's where we want to go with all of this. So before we get too deep into this, your parents, your siblings, your childhood friends, you want to make mention as to who surrounded you as you grew into womanhood and into life. I know you have a son.
Yeah, I do. Daddy was a customs officer. And
Okay.
so I was introduced in that regard without even knowing it to the maritime industry.
Right.
Because on the docks with stevedores and going over the bar, he would be bringing in cruise. Well, he couldn't bring in the cruise
But he
ships
watching
in
them
those
coming
days.
all the
He
time.
had to go out to them.
Right,
and Daddy
right,
would
right.
get seasick going over the bar.
Oh.
But he did. He was a customs officer.
Was he
for
from a
about
family
5 years.
island, your daddy?
No, he was right
Or
there
he-
from
or he grew up-
Delancey
oh,
Street.
that's
We
why-
lived.
that's why he got
He
seasick.
was on West Street, and we lived on Delancey Street round the corner.
Okay. So he was born in Nassau also.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You're
Now,
real
my
Nassau
mother
Viet.
was born in Bermuda,
Okay.
but my father was born in Nassau.
Right here.
But
Okay.
you know, I have the cousins, Arlene Nash Ferguson, an illustrious culturalist, educator,
everybody knows
Junkanoo
Arlene.
lady. Yes. So
Uh-huh.
we and Garth H.O. He was working in the airport tower.
Okay.
So those were the cousins. But
Mm-hmm.
Daddy had an older brother, an older sister, a twin sister, two older sisters, and then a younger sister, Arlene's mother.
Right.
But I had godparents who really made the difference in that my mother's family was still in Bermuda. So my mother surrounded herself with persons who were of like mind.
Right.
They were friends of Daddy's, some of their spouses. So
Okay.
some of my godparents, Gerald Cash,
Okay,
Cecil
Gerald.
Bethel Sr., the school C.V. Bethel. He was
Beautiful.
a first cousin of Daddy, but a godfather as well. Muriel Finney-Enius, who was principal at St. Anne's School.
Ooh.
I had Corinne Mitchell, that's Daddy O's mother, East Street, right there opposite the police,
Barracks?
Right.
Right.
And we would go there every Saturday night.
Okay.
And another godfather was Albert Forsyth. He was one of the first black persons to fly a private plane to Nassau. He and
Wow.
Mr. Anderson. And as a result, they got black men were allowed to fly in the Tuskegee Airmen for the Second World
Oh,
War.
Bahamians?
No, they were.
Oh, you mean black man's period,
Right,
yeah. Because they saw a black man
right,
doing it.
flying it, right? And
Wow.
they had and they flew by sight.
That's
They
right.
had no
That's right.
instruments.
Right. Back then they
And
had planes.
He came down, he came down. They came down right there on the road, by Glasser Road area where
Oh, the
right.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
I grew up with persons who wanted the best for me, who wanted to see me develop
Succeed.
and grow and make a contribution.
Right.
So their expectation added that gentle pressure to parental expectations to do well. And I went to England at age 16. I went to boarding school for a year,
Okay.
and then I went to university. And what happened is, you think that you're far away from home, but then you remember the voices of the expectation. And I remember thinking to myself, age 17 plus, how can I get myself into trouble and have those kinds of persons say to me, Angela, you did what? Easier to behave yourself. And the way that God had it, I was serving around the altar because when it was a girls' boarding school, so serving around the altar there, went to college, serving around the altar 6 days of the week. When most students drift from church,
You was
God
right there.
had me immersed. And so that's why we want to give the children at this exhibition hope for a future. We want them to believe in their own potential and possibility, but we want them to know that there's wind beneath their wings.
That's right.
That God has a plan, but there are others of us. They may not be our biological children, but we want to see them succeed. Just like my one son that my husband and I have, we wanted the best for him and tried to
Right.
nurture him and raise him to be who he is now, a coastal and civil and coastal engineer. But more than that, we wanted him to be what we said to him, be a man of God, a man of integrity.
Beautiful.
And so we want the children to be able to be rooted and grounded in spiritual values, but we also want them to have economic opportunities.
Economic
and that's what the
opportunities.
exhibition is about, to expose them
Right.
to the maritime sector and what the possibilities are.
So your committee in this exhibition is going to be drawing really from entities that have kids like LJM, entities like the Bahamas Maritime Cadet Corps, entities like the Defense Force, the Marine, what's it called, the junior,
Good, that type of program.
yeah, Defense. I try to remember the exact word. Commodore King, you killed me for this, but
You get it right. You get it right. By the next year, you get it right.
It's not the Rangers.
The Rangers, the Defense Force Rangers.
Actually,
I used to work there, my brother.
That's what I'm saying. No, but we ain't had the Rangers yet.
But you still used to work.
Yeah, I am no
You're supposed to
excuse.
keep the beat.
There's no excuse.
We're wanting to go beyond. Tell you the truth, we're wanting to go beyond those who don't even know the possibilities. We are wanting to expose the children in junior high to be able to choose subjects that can put them on the track, to be qualified, to take some of the jobs that are available, but they're just no Bahamians we hear, or maybe that there are opportunities for them to even be more creative, to come up with other ideas as to what we could do with being a maritime nation. But more than that, we want also, if there are any 11th and 12th graders who have not yet chosen a career, who hopefully have some of the subjects that they need to be able to go on, to know that these are job opportunities, openings. These are the scholarships that are available. These are the apprenticeships that you might be able to fit into. And so we're wanting to expose the students, guidance counselors, parents, and then other interested adults who may be able to cross-train, may be able to move into a new field and come up with another revenue stream. So we are wanting to make the exhibition something that benefits everybody. So we're hoping it's March 14th to the 16th that they'll come to the Mall and Marathon and they will experience what the sector, the maritime sector, has to offer. We have about 32 agencies on our committee, and we have many of them have already signed mall agreement, which indicates that they are serious about showing up. There are others that are in the process of signing, and then there are others who are going to be helping, some who are going to, Brent will talk about his scavenger hunt and the site visits, who are going to be offering some kind of prizes and support in that way. But we are trying to make sure that our children who would not necessarily have thought maritime begin to think that there's a possibility. Plus, we want them to know there's a future and a hope, that you don't have to join a gang, you don't have to carry a gun, you don't have to have a baby for somebody so that they can help support you, but that you can find a way to have a legal and moral career that will take you to heights that you can't even begin to imagine at this age and stage of your life.
So the setup for the exhibition is going to be like how? I mean, who are going to be there on display?
Okay.
How are the kids going to be told about this? Because this looks like this is in the middle of the week.
We are already working with the Ministry of Education. We've already talked with the persons who are able to organize these kinds of field trips, because the children take field trips. And Mr. Al De Santos, who is the new general manager at the mall, has graciously offered to underwrite the transportation costs to make sure that students who might not have had the money to be able to pay for the bus fare will be there. Private school children will be there. They're going to
be in school. What are the hours?
Schools make arrangements for children to do field trips. They'll do just
but
a half hour.
They can let them catch the bus, though?
The bus will go to them.
Private bus.
We'll be arranging.
I thought you meant a jitney.
No. I tell you, he's underwriting the cost of transportation. No. The private schools have their own buses, but we're wanting to make sure that the children are safely transported.
Right.
And quickly, they get there, they have half an hour with us, and they're back in school. And we are not putting them in the lunch hour, the ones that may be on the lunch program, etc. We are not slotting them in for lunchtime to make sure they don't miss out on their hot meal. So we are wanting to really celebrate maritime. The jobs on the land, the jobs on the sea, even things like maritime law. People don't even think about it. But that's a very lucrative area if you're interested in that kind of thing. There's arbitration, there are office jobs, mechanic, engineer. Well, Brent has done some excellent listings of all the spin-off jobs that you might associate with maritime.
Maritime is huge.
Many people think it's throwing a line out in going fishing or something. They have no idea all of the things that maritime includes.
That's true.
Because it's conservation, as our theme is combining preservation, conservation, education, tourism, enforcement, economic development for empowerment that leaves no one behind. And that's the whole point. Is
you think the kids can understand all of that? I'm really trying to fight to understand that.
No. They can have it in front of them, but more than that, you see, the tables are going to be set up. We can use the wings in the mall if If let's say
Necessary.
the defense force, or police force, or immigration, customs, all of them have signed up already. Brief, we've got a number of persons that are in the process of finalizing their paperwork,
Right.
so that they can show up. And we want to have, the opening is on the 14th at 10 o'clock. And so we're hoping Prime Minister Davis will be able to be with us. Of course, it's hosted by the Ministry of Transport and Housing and our National Maritime Policy Implementation Committee. So, Minister JoBeth Kobe Davis has been extremely important in helping us to get the message out and being supportive in so many ways. She's met with us already. We was a hybrid meeting. We were in person in the Ministry of Housing, and she was on with us virtually. So we've been trying to put this all together so that we could begin in this inaugural one, just work out all of the logistics so that next year, hopefully, we can be bigger and better. But in the meantime, we're wanting to make sure that we give the children exposure to what I call a buffet. So they can taste and see, and they can make their notes and make contacts and talk with persons, so they can begin to really get a taste for what a career in the maritime sector would involve.
That sounds really good. I have a question though. Why wouldn't you guys have planned that to go over the weekend as well? I mean, run into the weekend and like when kids are off from school, like Saturday.
Well, I tell you what we thought initially, and we'll see how it works out.
Right.
But the companies and agencies, the government agencies that are setting up, you're asking people to give up their weekends. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing it during working time when they would be able to set up and take down. But more than that, the schools do field trips. This is a part of education. I was a primary teacher, we would go, they would have exhibitions at the post office in those days, the old post office. And we would take students there, we would be invited elsewhere. So field trips are a part of children's education to expose them to different things. And when you do it during school time, it's a controlled environment. You have proper supervision, and then you are able to give them questionnaires, ask them to answer questions. When they go back to school, they can report to the guidance or their teachers what they've learned, and you make the field trip a part of the educational experience. So when I did field trips and things like that, they'd have to write essays, they'd have to talk about what they learned, what was new, what took them by surprise, what they enjoyed. And so the exposure just allows them to begin to dream bigger dreams. Now, maybe next year we'll try the weekend. But again, the logistics, we were experimenting, we wanted to see how it would go. And so this way we thought we'd start out small, and then we could always possibly expand. But
Can I also add?
it's scavenger hunt is on Saturday.
We also, first of all, what we had planned is a 3-day exhibition. We also on the Friday we're planning to have actually field visits to facilities, either by the cruise ports or on actual ships. So we're working with various entities to facilitate that. On Saturday, on the 18th, there's supposed to be a scavenger hunt at Clifton Heritage, where we're going to incorporate maritime heritage and culture into the whole theme of things. So the biggest thing that we want to do, maritime is one of the best kept secrets in the Bahamas. There's no doubt about it. We wanted to see if we can expose as much and as many to the various opportunities within the industry. We wanted to expose them to the various companies that are engaged in the industry.
But is it school children you're really targeting?
We're targeting, for example, we want persons to start thinking about, for example, from the youngest possible age.
Right.
So we want them to start thinking. When I first started in industry, I was 7, 8 graders thinking to a certain. We want to expose them, and it's not to the point where we're saying, yeah, this is something that you have to do. We want to expose as many to the various potential opportunities that are available in this. They may decide that they want to be architects or accountants. Fair enough.
Yeah, but they'll have an option.
But we want to expose as many. So, for example, if we. The concept is, if we reach one, this has been a successful event. And just let me add, for example, I heard you mentioning earlier about some of the maritime heroes. Leon Flowers was my first boss, actually. Really great, know him and his son very well.
Yes.
So again, I definitely, look up to all of those guys. But again, on the concept of this is just to expose. And we want it to be an annual event. There are things that obviously will be tweaked from year to year. For example, after this event is finished, we'll go into planning immediately for next year. So we're thinking about having, for example, there was discussion about having basically exhibits in the mall parking lot, for example, other things, other facilities to be utilized. So again, we just want to ensure that we expose them to the opportunities. We expose them to the companies. We're also having, for example, if kids there, we're encouraging companies, for example, they have apprenticeship programs or summer programs coming up to have sign-up sheets. We want to build a database with the kids as well, where we collect this information and we start sharing information on a regular basis. So we want to use social media as well as we move along. But again, we realize that there is a lot of work to be done. But obviously, just like in anything else, it all starts with that first step. And it's a budding industry, and there's so many things that people need to know about the industry. Again, just wanted to start somewhere. And as we move forward, so this is no longer the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Additionally, in terms of basically the theme, no one left behind. Well, use some military.
No child left behind.
So the kids would be able to understand. We ain't leaving no one behind. So once we explain, we get kids. I coach kids, so we can start. We intend to speak their language. We intend to get excited about it. For example, just to mention, LJM has recently started a youth program for ages 11 to 14. A snappers program that meet once a month. I assist with that program as well. But again, it's an ongoing program. So as you see these things rolling out, what you'll see is that we will be going from strength to strength in our education and promotion and awareness program. And we'll be leaning and asking persons like yourselves to contribute as well.
Yeah, man, I got plenty of time on my hands.
I already asked you.
I got plenty of time.
That's not.
I got plenty of knowledge.
And Clayton Furnace and his cadets will be there. We have LJM will be there, so that we wanted them to be also able to share, because they had a wonderful exhibition some months ago.
Yes,
highlighting. And so the idea is that there are certain schools that already have maritime programs. So we're hoping that those students, once they begin to talk about what they do, that the other children will begin to say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me try that, or GGYA or something. But we want them to be able to have wholesome activities that allow them to develop holistically.
Expose them to everything. For example, we short of Met officers. I mean, all this includes for the maritime officers. We short of legal officers. At the end of the day, we're talking about port administration. We're talking about safety officers. We're talking about the shipyard. It's our goal to see every position filled by Bahamians.
Beautiful. But what I'm grappling with, while we speak about this exhibition, when you mentioned No Child Left Behind, and I feel, based on what I'm hearing from you guys, is I'm saying you guys, I got a whole reverend in here, right? My apologies, I'm Reverend Palacious, but you don't do it like us, so. But what I'm feeling is, you're leaving a lot of people behind by only getting a small sample from each school. My thing is, you look at Aaron Bailey, for example, right across the road from the mall. Why can't you have that whole school at some point come in and out of the mall for this exhibition? Look at C.I. Gibson. Why can't you have a bus on a half-hourly rotation bringing people different classes in?
For example, you just said this during the week. Now, probably that probably would not have the whole school during the week. And
why wouldn't you have the whole school during the week if they're right across the street?
They can come after 3. They can be on their own. They'll be open until the mall closes.
And some companies will be left on Saturday, and would we intend?
No, I'm talking about the same during the week, which you have already arranged.
And we intend to do is to record everything, so we can live Facebook, use social media. For example, it's not going to be the perfect product at the end of the day. For example, you're never going to reach everybody.
But you could reach much more though.
But we're going to do our best
The family islands are going to be involved.
For example, we're doing live streams as well.
Yeah, that's for those who are not close, like Aaron Bailey and C.I. Gibson.
And we could get, and we will encourage them. For example,
and Claridge Primary.
A lot of that, for example, we work through the Ministry of Education in terms of organizing, because it's quite a bit of work just organizing the exhibition itself.
Yeah, but between now and then, instead we could walk there. Let's get that. Let's attack them.
But let me just say,
for big numbers.
Let me just say, anybody, for example, at any time can. It's an open.
No, but all the schools are not as close as them.
Well, like I say, for example, definitely is open to them. I don't know how feasible it is. I know the mall also have issues in terms of controlling the school kids after certain hours.
Yeah, they'll come with the teachers. No, I'm talking about during school hours. I'm talking about a whole class. It could be organized.
We're gonna be working. We're gonna work it this time. This is the experiment. This is the first time. We're gonna see how it works. We're moving 60 children through half hour, and then making sure that they don't have to bump into each other. So we have an entrance in one area, an exit in another. Moving them, flowing through for the time
once
frame.
Once we get started, we expect.
Then we'll see how it works.
We expect ongoing trends. And like I say, for example, obviously, from the standpoint of really, nothing really has been done to this extent ever in this country. I think, for example, starting from somewhere is definite. For example, I see a lot of things and opportunities, and you speak to a lot of people. Even when I come into contact with a lot of youngsters, they just don't know anything about the industry. That has to change, and that has to change at some point. So if we could reach one child, Captain Bain, if you could understand small steps.
One child.
Well, if we could reach one child, then the mission would have been successful.
I applaud the efforts
and we don't think like that. If we don't think like that, we never move, especially in this country. And you know how this country works.
But you know how I think.
I know you always
you know when you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
You always looking for something to poke at. So you can't help yourself. That's just your nature.
I just like to see. I just like to see better if better could be done.
But it always could be better, Glenn. That's nothing. It's a finished product.
So we
But at the end of the day, for example, so.
But you still have time to catch some of that.
We just want to make sure what we have now is perfected. We could always grow upon that. We're not, like, at the end of the day, and like I say, we're going to do what we can with what we have at the end of the day and just promote that as much as possible and stick to positivity in our promotion. All negativity, we're throwing out the door. Now, and that's all negativity.
What I can do now is open the lines in case somebody want to ask you all anything before we fully wrapped up. So producer, if we could open the lines, please, sir. Yeah, the number to call again is 326-8255. That's 326-8255. We are blessed by the great one and only Reverend Angela PALACIOUS.
No, keep it small.
And
only by the grace.
The great...
No.
I'm
a humble servant. I'm only here to serve.
But you got more experience than most in this country when it comes to maritime. But that big time master's degree and
still as a humble servant.
Okay, humble servant, Mr. Brent Williamson. Anybody want to speak to them before they leave? Because they're not going to be all night. They're basically wrapping up right now. And look like they're teeth too much in my time.
That's right.
If anybody wants, for example, and yourself, Captain B, and if you're still looking for some sponsors for the scavenger hunt, for example. So if you want to sponsor some activities during the scavenger hunt, feel free. If anybody wants to sponsor anything during the scavenger hunt, you can contact.
I'm helping the sponsor right now as we speak.
And it's not just for children. The whole idea is to
everybody to come
adults because the adults can encourage the children.
Guaranteed.
We want everybody to come down, come past.
We got a young pilot coming out from Freeport, who's a female pilot who's going to be presenting during the opening ceremony. So
of the scavenger hunt or of the exhibition? So is the scavenger hunt a part of the exhibition?
Yes. It's a final finale. Like, for
example, so we're going until Saturday.
After we do for example,
beautiful.
Everything starts with conservation and protection. For example, if we don't, for example, just like in maritime, all the environmental rules, safety rules, environmental protection. So if we don't protect and preserve what you have, there'll be nothing left. So we want to, after we done show them all the opportunities, we want to show them the importance of preserving the marine environment and keeping it for generations to come.
Beautiful. While I have the chair and the deputy in the house, we need to set up a time when we could come back and really discuss the policy itself.
We'll do
really discuss the policy itself, because here you are implementing a policy, and we know that things get in the way sometimes. But maybe 6 months, a year down the road, we can really
conjure up. Update on what's been happening.
Well, we'll let the country know exactly where we are with it.
We'll do that.
And that would be very nice.
Yes.
So
thank you for
let me
having
thank
us.
you
We are grateful.
for gracing Maritime Matters.
Thank you,
March 14th
Captain
to
Dan.
16th.
March 14th
The
through
place to be
16th,
is Marathon. We're
Marathon
looking for
Mall.
you,
What are the
right?
hours per day?
From the mall opens till the mall closes.
All right, if it ain't no time, there's open. There's open from 7, 8.
8:30, right? 8
9?
o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
So
more or
basically
less.
around school time and then beyond.
Right. It'll be
Till
right
about
on tonight.
6, 7 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah. The whole, as long as the mall is open, the exhibition is open.
Wonderful. I'll make sure. Well, I actually, based on my projection, I probably wouldn't be in the country. But if I'm here, I'll make sure I'll be there. If not, I'll still give you guys a call.
We stream live, so you could still
Yes,
on
yes,
Facebook and
yes,
you could
yes.
visit
Yes,
what-
yes.
So I thank you so
Thank
much,
you. Thank
as
you.
always.
Yes,
Brent,
brother. Everything good?
you take care, man. Always good to see you.
I get live, don't worry.
Not live, my friend.
Night,
Don't say
night.
nothing. All right, yeah. This the way out here. This glass door, yeah. And then you can let yourself out through the next door. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, that was the lady, the Reverend Priest, Lady Angela Palacious, Reverend Angela Palacious, along with my good friend, Mr. Brent Williamson, former Deputy Controller of the Port Department. Quite a loads and loads of knowledge in maritime. So they're gone. And we are now left and stuck with what we really want to address tonight in this show. And I told you I'll save some of the maritime feed discussion so that we can all kind of address them at this stage of the game. And what do we want to be the first one? We want to talk some more about the domestic headlines, domestic maritime matters. And again, the number to call if you want in on this conversation, and we trust that you will want in on this, have some questions to ask, is 326-8255. That's 326-8255. You're listening to Maritime Matters host, Captain Glenwood A. Bain, A. Alexander. So the yacht show on the weekend was, I would think it was a big success. I've heard that, they had a good number of people coming out and checking out the wares and looking at the yachts and all the rest of that good stuff and getting some good information. This is not the first time the Yacht Association engaged this type of thing. But this is the first time they actually put on a show locally here in the Bahamas based on my knowledge. And again, the local yacht brokers want to be able to attain a Bahamian yacht broker's license. And what that will enable them to do is they would be able to actually broker some of these charters. Broker some of these charters to the extent where they're booking the charters. Because when you book a charter, you get what? 10-15% on what the charter costs for booking it. And to book a charter, you need to know a little about those yachts. You need to understand the nature of the seas around the Bahamas and all the rest of that good stuff. And how the whole thing ties in with the logistics of a yacht taking on people with money. Because these cruises are not cheap. They average about, $10,000 a day, basically. I mean, for a small yacht. You get some larger yachts. You got some yachts charging over $200,000 a week for a charter. The average is like $70,000 to $80,000 a week. So if you book a charter for $70,000 a week, 10% of that, you got $7,000 of that one booking. So we need some Bahamians to get in on some of these brokerage, these yacht charter brokerage operations. And do you know that the brokers are not allowed to solicit locally in the Bahamas? Currently, based on the yacht charter rules, they have to do that brokering outside of the country. So what I've been advised is that sometimes people come in to say Bahama or Atlantis, and they see these pretty yachts and they want to go. They want to book at least a day or 2 days or sometimes a week with their family while they're here, or when they come back, and they go and they ask them, how do we book this yacht? And they're told, just as they should be, well, you got a broker from outside of the country. You can't book it from locally. You have to call these brokers and they would be able to arrange when you could go on a charter with us. And they call the brokers from outside of the country, although they're already here. And we have local brokers that they're not channel too, because our brokers ain't got no license and there ain't no provision for them to have no license. So they need to now be able to get a yacht charter broker's license so that they can do their bookings locally. And that will give them the advantage, because if you're booking locally, the foreigner cannot do that. So it puts you in a driver's seat. You could put out your flyers in the hotels. You can put out your flyers at the airports, have people meeting and exposing the fact that they can do a yacht charter from within the Bahamas and all the rest of that good stuff. So hopefully we'll get to that sometime soon. We talk about the oil cleanup efforts, and I think, my views on this one is straightforward. Who's at fault? It's a force majeure situation. So while we would want the deeper pocket to pay for cleanup and for this and for that, that's fine. If they choose to, or I think they will agree to, and as a matter of fact, they spend a lot of money already. We got to remember that this company, Equinor as it is, I think they're trying to sell, or it's been told that they want to sell the company, and then if they sell the company, I guess they wouldn't be responsible anymore. The new company coming in would not have been the company that owned the facility when the spill was conducted or when the force majeure happened. So, of course, the local folks that deal with, the local companies that deal with spills and stuff, preserving the environment and all the rest of that, they don't want them off the hook so readily. Look, you all was in charge when the spill happened, so you all make sure, the cleanup is done before you sell. Now, I don't know what legal support they would get for that, but that's what it's all about, eh? So, we talk about Canada deploying those 2 vessels, the patrol boats off Haiti. We also talk, but we don't know what will happen when they get off Haiti, as far as what they're going to do when they come across a vessel. Because let me tell you something, there's money involved in this migrant trafficking on these rickety boats, as we call them, because they're not properly registered vessels. They're taking a chance. So people taking a chance with their life, and they're spending a lot of money to take this chance. And the people who own these boats, they're not well scrutinized. They're not making sure that their boat meet like the SOLAS standards and or even the Caribbean Code standards. They simply making money. So I would think that what Canada would be looking at and what Canada would want to be doing is ensuring that if the boat is not safe, you can't go anywhere. We're going to make sure you don't leave here on this boat. And if they does that, fine. Then we wouldn't have to worry too much about it, eh? And then we talk a little about the Shantytown ordeal. What about the Shantytown ordeal? We have, when these vessels actually make landfall, places where the migrants want to get. Because most of them, or we got a call on the line, I'll be with you in the second corner, most of these migrants cannot speak proper English. So it'll take some time for them to be integrated into the system. So if they don't have a shanty town to go to, it'll be very difficult for them to disseminate into the communities. So if we could get rid of the shanty towns, that's half of the bargain won. We've won the battle, because when these people land now, it'll be very difficult for them to be able to disseminate without being caught. once they reach one of those shanty towns, you know and I know, it's safe. They're covered. Because they're basically home. In another country, but home. So, I got to support the fact that we in this country, let me just take this caller, we in this country have to ensure that, these people meet our standards if they coming here, however they come. I can't blame them for coming. I would have come too if I was in their shoe. Caller, you were on Maritime Matters. Please.
Good night, Captain Ben. How are you, sir?
Good night to you, my friend. I am feeling a little worn, but I'm ticking along. I'm doing very well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to speak to you again, Captain Ben.
Yes, Brother Abby.
Listen, I would just like to advise you. You said that most of the migrants continue to come on the rickety boats. That's not so anymore. They are coming in catamarans. They're coming in big steel freighters and other pleasure crafts. And next thing, reading about Canada having two of their patrol craft stationed off the coast of Haiti. And they said that they wasn't going to stop anybody. But what's the purpose of being there? I know sometime back the Defense Force had sea riders, and I think it would be an extremely good idea for them to sort of partnership with the Bahamas or even Turks and Caicos, who are much closer to Haiti, to do a partnership thing, like having the sea rider. So once you have the Bahamian or Turks and Caicos sea rider on board, they'd be able to board these Haitian boats,
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
You're absolutely right. On the fact that the Canadian patrol boats are there, but they don't have they have authority when it comes to international waters. Now you got to remember these vessels are not in Bahamian waters, so I'm not sure that a Defense Force person would have any rights off the coast of Haiti. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't. Our rights extend 12 miles when it comes to migration, 12 miles from any of our landmass.
Yeah, but where do you think that the Canadian ships are going to be? Within the territorial waters of Haiti?
Yes, I think they intend to actually go right off the coast of Haiti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what they indicated.
Yeah, so we share intelligence, and if some of our folks are around the Nauvoo area, in that vicinity, they'll be able to say, okay, guys, well, two of Glen Bain boats coming from Haiti now, coming from the north coast of Haiti, and traveling whatever coordinates, given coordinates, and we just intercept them if they come along.
Yeah, let me tell you what the concern is in the Mediterranean Sea, Abby. They have a situation where, well, I'll bring it home. Amnesty International is their position is this: a ship leaving Haiti because of turmoil in Haiti.
Indeed.
These people should not be returned to that turmoil. Give them an opportunity to get out. Right? But I think our problem is, yes, you give them an opportunity to get out. I mean, they can't, like you say, they're not always in rickety boats. But let's say they're in well-structured vessels. I mean, it's hard for me to think that a registered, well-structured vessel would be bringing migrants, taking the risk of using their vessel to smuggle migrants from Haiti.
Involved, Captain Ben.
Yeah, but they're not they're gonna lose their boats if they're smuggling people.
I mean, if you have a well-structured boat.
Yeah, but your well-structured boat.
It wouldn't be so suspicious or even conspicuous, with nice boat, everybody down below there, as if it is a rickety sailboat.
Yeah, but if you get caught, you lose your vessel.
Yeah, well, that's a chance today.
Okay, so let's give it to them, and let's say they get out. But Amnesty International don't want anybody stopping them from trying to find, because I mean we see the clips on making it wrong on social media where Haitians are basically taking the law into their own hands now, right? They're burning people up and things are really chaotic.
They always said burn, put your tires around people burn. They did. This isn't nothing new.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they're doing it now more so because the laws, the authorities are not well structured right now, as I understand it. So I'm just saying that to return somebody to that, and I'm not supporting Amnesty International to say, oh, this is the view they're supposed to take. Because I personally believe that even if they get here, right, and even if they get in shanty towns, we need to address the people who are hiring them. Because a lot of them are working, but they don't have any status to do the kind of jobs they're actually engaging. But yet people are paying them, people are hiring them, and nobody prosecuting these people. Now, I am sure that our law provide not only that they are violating the law, but the people who are hiring them are violating the law. I know immigration expert, but I can make sure I look at the Immigration Act between now and the next show, because this thing coming up again.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, if we do our part...
Let me make one point there.
Yes, sir.
One thing leads to the other, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the Bahamas has been saturated with illegals for years. Captain been for years, right?
Yes.
And not only the people from the south, we have the people from the Far East and all, right?
Yeah, we got people from all over the place.
Now, and that's what not one of our government had the fortitude, sir, to deal with the problem. The only persons who, in my estimation, was willing to deal with it was the Honorable Loftus Roker and Don McCartney. And see what happened to them? They got their legs cut off.
Well, you had former Minister Loftus Roker in the PLP administration, because when I was small, I used to see the people running through your yard. They used to be getting clotheslined, some of them, the police, the immigration. We used to see it happening, so we knew that it was active, right? And since then, like you say, I know Shane Gibson, the Honorable Shane Gibson, when he was in power, he did some raids and broke down, I think, some homes that were on government land and all the rest of it. And then there was a lot of big outcry for that. And then, of course, Minister Branwell McCartney came in and he started to do raids and started to do something. And then it wasn't so much of an outcry like when the structures were broken down of the government property with Shane Gibson. But, there was still some recourse. People will see what happened at the end of the day.
Last thing
that
before
was shut down.
Let me advise you again that I've been privileged and had the opportunity to take part in the CUID program.
Yes.
On the U.S. Coast Guard ship, and I've been in between Turks and Caicos, Haiti, and all of that, right?
Correct.
And all the Bahamas.
Yes.
And boarding those boats, Captain Ben, and I can tell you this without favor, contradiction. A lot of those Haitian boats, as a matter of fact, 85% of them that we boarded was owned by Bahamian pastors. Do you believe that?
Well, you're speaking to the choir because...
I'm telling you that.
You got to remember, I was deputy port controller. We the ones who used to register them. We would register under the water skiing and motorboat control those vessels that traded between the Bahamas and Haiti, the sailboats and all them, but most of them were owned by Bahamians. Otherwise, we couldn't register them.
Absolutely.
So that ain't no secret.
And Reverend this and Reverend that.
Well, I know all the Reverend this and Reverend that, but I know that they were. But when I was, we used to do both of us were in the defense force together. We used to do what they call Haitian patrol, right? Where they'll send us along the Haitian route, and sometimes we do a blockade. And anything coming through, we check. And we did that for a couple of years. But I know I went down in Inago many times and did Haitian patrol. And at least 7 or 8 vessels every single day we would go on board. And like you say, these were like steel hull freighters. These weren't the regular wooden sloops. Right? And these freighters would always have about just under 12 or less passengers. Because they already know that according to the Solas Convention, you can't carry more than 12 people for hire unless you are a Solas vessel, you meet all the requirements of Solas. So somebody done briefed them that they could carry up to 12, right, as a cargo vessel. And they would have the passport for each one of these so-called passengers. And it dawned on me when I went to a meeting in Miami with the Coast Guard. And at that time, the Commodore of the Defense Force refused to go to the meeting, or he didn't make it. I don't know if he just had something else to do. And the immigration director, 3 of us were supposed to have gone. I was the only one actually telling him. Coast Guard explained to me that, do you know, when they have all these people on these boats, sometimes they say, oh, well, all us waking on the boat. He said, what we do is we make them drop anchor. And the 3 people that we see move, one is the captain, one is a crew, and then probably another crew. They would be the 3 crew members. Because every single time those boats come up with 12 to 15 people, and whenever they go back, they're going back with 2 or 3.
Okay, stop right there. I wanted to go there. My last 3-year patrol, I wrote a report, and I forwarded to, at the time, it was Lieutenant Martinberg, Major Martinberg. And I told him what I suspected. It was something that I called trickling migration.
Yes. That's what was happening.
Trickling migration is what I dubbed that report.
Yeah.
Trickling migration, because what happened, in the space of 1 week, 7 folks came on that boat, right? Mm-hmm. And when the boat incepted going back, it had 3, so it meant that 4 remained.
Yeah, but that's what they were doing all along.
Huh?
That's what they were doing all along. So if I was in one vessel and I boarded like 7 of them a day, that's like 70 people I actually allowed through because they had all the passports.
Right.
But my thing is, even if they had all the passports, I'm not sure they should have been allowed to come in by sea because they had a passport. I don't know what the regulations might be if they come in by plane.
Yeah.
Right?
But they need a visa, actually.
Well, they didn't have a visa by sea. I don't know if they need a visa by plane. I don't know if they need a visa by sea. But again, being on the Defense Force, I didn't have a clue how to deal with the situation. Because I didn't even know, like you said, that those vessels were registered or had to be registered by Bahamian and all the rest of that. It's a lot that the Defense Force does not, they're not aware of, right? But I think if the Port Department would get together sometime and put on seminars for Defense Force people, particularly the ones that sail, to let them know what a registration look like. If this boat don't have this registration, then they should be detained, or you can't allow them to operate. And there's so much that they need to know so that they can enforce these things. Just like how the police do with road traffic.
I just hope it is done in our lifetime, because some in Bahamians, I'm telling you, I'm a born Bahamian, and it's just too much talk. No action. Too much talk for every single thing. We have these problems. We see them. We identify them. And nobody is doing nothing to solve them. So that's all. And thanks for taking
Brother
the
Ebby.
call. I hope that it happened in our lifetime, Captain Ben.
Yeah.
Nice stuff.
No, I don't want you to go yet. One more question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the ministers in the names of Loftus Roker and Brian McCartney. When I brought up Shane Gibson, but you didn't mention anything about what's going on now with Lincoln Bain and his people, how they're doing.
But I support Lincoln Bain cause, CAUSE, right?
Yeah.
But I support his cause. Not CAUSE,
But 20 years from now, or let's say 50 years from now. 50 years from now, right?
Right, because
when this story is told.
He's going to look just like Loftus Roker, like Woody was then, right? But I didn't support the manner in which he demonstrated during the Chokum.
Well, what manner was that you didn't support? How did he demonstrate that you thought was out of order?
Well, I think by going by the hotel and with all those foreign dignitaries, right? And again, let's look at it like this. Terrorism all over the world now is on the rise, right? So let's say any of those foreign folks that came here and persons was out for them in their country, or even in different jurisdiction other than where their home is, right? Mm-hmm. And it's out for them. And they come here and something that happened to them, right? It would have been a different ball game.
Yeah,
because even though the murders that happen here, they are hired murders. Folks come in and the dark of night, do they hit? And out. Right?
So,
and it could have been the same way with that. So I feel like he should just wait. And it's more time for him to deal with his cause. Right? But let me tell you why I support his cause. Because the government, Captain Ben, the government, none of them actually done nothing. No one talk. And somebody got to bring their awareness. And I think Lincoln Ben, he's doing an excellent job in bringing the awareness to the people that, listen, this is a situation, we have a serious situation that needs to be dealt with, and immediately.
well, what I ask myself, and I would ask you, what are we doing? We know what Lincoln Bain is doing. We know these people are out there making sacrifices, taking the brunt for basically this cause, and I with you on that. I hate when the political part of it get into, and they talk about the COI or whatever. I ain't into that because I ain't all about that, right? But as far as doing something tangible, to say that years from now we can tell our grandchildren, your grandpa did that. Or we can say Lincoln Bain did that. What are we doing? I've been to some of the protests. See, and another thing, when you're protesting, protest happens worldwide. Protest happens in front of the United Nations in New York. Protest happens in front of the IMO in London. Protests happen in front. So why is it that you can't protest to carry a meeting? Why can't we have a group of people stand by and do peaceful protests? What is wrong with that?
What is peaceful? Yeah.
But what is wrong with that? I cannot imagine what is wrong with that. So long as it's peaceful.
And the next thing to say, I remember some months ago, or I think it's before the pandemic, it was a remark made that it's more of us than them.
Well, we can have
That's
remarks.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anytime your back is pushed against the wall, you say things, right? I mean, obviously, if push comes to shove and our government gives our authorities the go-ahead to clean up, our government know where every shanty town is, I don't want you to think the government doesn't know.
They are increasing by the day.
Yeah, they know where every shanty town is. They know where all the jobs are, where these people are hired and shouldn't be. They know it's just a matter of like I say, it's not as simple as saying the government will shut this down because the whole world will look at us and say, oh, look what they're doing to the Haitians. I mean, the government knows that, right? But that's why I'm saying let's start with making sure they live like us, no shanty towns.
Yeah.
Things like that. When they catch them on the sea, let's try to get them back to Inagua so they could go back home or stay there for a while or whatever. You see, but when it comes to actually stopping them from living and all of that, because what will happen is the reason why they don't go to Jamaica. Eh? Jamaica's far closer than the Bahamas, to Haiti. Why do you think they don't go to Jamaica?
But why are you saying Jamaica? What is so far?
No, because Jamaica and the Bahamas are all.
For the planet, they share the same island.
Yeah, but they go there. Some of them go there. They don't go to Cuba.
And they just brought them out there a couple of months ago.
Yeah, but a lot of them still there. They don't go to Cuba. They don't go to Jamaica. Because if they go there, they ain't gonna get no job. So they're trying to get to us where they're being allowed to work. We need to deal with it from a different perspective. We need to look at it a little differently and start dealing with, if you don't have the right documents for this particular job you're on, you ain't gonna do this job. Right? And they simple things.
Yeah, and the thing too, it appeared to me, I can be wrong, it appeared to me that the Immigration Department are using this work permit to generate revenue.
Well, I mean, yes, revenue is a part of it, but I don't think that's a significant impact on our revenue. That it helps. Anything helps in revenue, but I'm saying again, even when they give it to permit us for specific tasks, but yet they're using the permit to do other things.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brother Eddie, I got to roll out. My time is flash out. I am getting the signal and I'm about to be cut. So I appreciate that call, my friend. It's a very good discussion. I'm going to continue this topic next week. So feel free to listen in and we can pick it up and keep going with it. I need to do a little bit more research on it myself. But thank you very much for calling in, my brother.
All right, sir. Do well. Have a good night tonight.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our Maritime Matters show for tonight. Again, we had our guest, the Reverend Angela PALACIOUS, along with my good friend, Mr. Brent Williamson. We talk about some of the things we wanted to talk about. We're going to continue next week. I wouldn't have any guests, but we're going to continue this type of discussion. And with that said, I just want to big up my sponsors one more time. One-on-One Pharmacy. Please go in and check them out. They're on East Street and Charles Sanders Highway. And then Bahamas Maritime Connection. And with that, we are flesh out of time. Maritime Matters out.